Don't discount the value of the pleasant small talk. That person who shouts across the street says, "Hey, I love your hat." That's doing something for them.
Hey, it's Julie. Welcome to Uncomfy. A lot of us are struggling right now with how to stay open to others when we seem to be living in different realities a lot of the time. I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells with people, but I also don't want to give up on connection. Well, this is a podcast about staying with the moments we usually want to escape, the awkward ones, the tense ones, the ones that can actually teach us something. So let's get uncomfy.
I was sure I was going to annoy people.
Folks, I want you to meet Mollie Kaye. She spent years dressing up every Tuesday in vintage 1950s clothes. If you're watching this, you can actually see an example of that right now. She's gotten dressed up for us on the video. She wears the hats, the gloves, the heels. We're talking full Jackie Kennedy. It is really something to behold. And she's not doing it for the reason you might think. So, Mollie, I'm so excited to speak with you. Welcome to Uncomfy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm always so pleased to be able to share some of the things I've learned by doing this.
All right, take us back to that moment that you were describing where you were sure you were going to annoy people. What was going on?
Well, I was a performer on stage in a group that sang kind of a reenactment of 40s and 50s music. And we had a wardrobe of a few different 50s outfits that we wore, matching outfits. There was a day when I promoted my friend's vintage fair by dressing up in all the stuff, and then I showed up at a big public art festival. And people were so thrilled to see me dressed that way that I realized, okay, I'm going to do this. I'd turned 50. I was kind of like in that moment of maybe it's time to just do some things that I'd been limiting myself with a little bit, like what's the harm? But as a writer, I had just been working by myself in my own home for so long, and I had to kind of will myself out of the house to see people. And I was really suffering for the lack of social interaction. And so I assigned myself this project. I said, one day a week for a year, I will do this, and then I will write about it. So I just declared it to the random person next to me. I'm going to do this. And then I went home and I thought about what day of the week I should choose. And I thought, can't be a weekend because people think, oh, she's going to a party. So it was like Tuesday, nothing fun ever happens on a Tuesday. I'll do this every Tuesday. And I became like, during the pandemic when no one knew what day of the week it was, I was how they knew what day of the week it was. They'd like shout at me out of their car windows even. They'd be like, oh, it's Tuesday.
They would see you walking down the street. Yeah.
And so they called me the Tuesday lady. That was how I'm known. And I purposely stacked all of the kinds of errands that would require me to leave the house onto Tuesdays. So I had to just sort of go out for a whole day.
Describe for me an interaction where you kind of feel like, oh yeah, this is actually, this works. It's not just me getting random compliments, but it's creating a sense of connection.
My gosh, so week over week, it took me about 4 months, I'd say, of doing it to really get to a point where I wasn't feeling at least a little bit of dread walking out the door.
Interesting.
I mean, that's how long it took me to neurologically rewire, even though I hadn't received one negative comment. Now, I live in a place that's very conflict avoidant, so it's unlikely that someone come charging up to me and say, I hate this. They might whisper to each other about me, and then I say, well, good, you're talking to someone. That's good. That's the whole point of the exercise. They could point at me and go, she's such an attention seeker. Okay, great. You're talking to somebody. But mostly it was just nonstop delight. And whether it was just smiles and waves or whether it was people actually saying, oh my gosh, this just made my day to see you. And I would think, wow, that is something nobody would have said to me if I was wearing like jeans and a sweater. And if they did, it would be weird. So showing up in this sort of reenactment of a period of history where people did treat leaving the house as a social event, I meant for it to be contagious. So it's kind of like, everybody join in, wear your Sunday best to the grocery store on Tuesdays. And then when people say, what are you all dressed up for? You can say, it's Tuesday, and then you can blame me. And nobody did it. But they didn't do it like as a movement on Tuesdays, which was what I'd hoped for. they did little things. And so a young woman in particular, I remember we had a nice conversation started by my outfit. And at the end of it, I said, it's just so amazing the kinds of things you experience. Like I would think, oh yeah, we start out talking about the outfit, but we end up talking about other things. And then there's a real profundity to it, a depth to it. And you think, oh, I wouldn't have had this conversation with this person I've never met if I hadn't offered this initial bridge for them to cross. And I did a TEDx talk about this, and I gave people this hack, which was to wear one thing, at least one thing, at or above your collarbone that is comment worthy, that invites comment. So here I've got the brooch on, right? Sparkly brooch, a necklace, that's a sparkly necklace. I got really interesting earrings. I've got, this hat, obviously. And people who wear glasses, I always say, oh my gosh, here's the opportunity of your life. Just get the glasses that everyone's going to say, oh my gosh, I love your glasses. Then they're looking you in the eye with a smile, and all day you're going to get that kind of social nourishment. And yet when I talk to optometrists, they say, oh, people try on the really cool glasses, and then they say, oh, it's just not me, or oh, I couldn't. I think for the same reasons I felt weird about leaving the house that first day, they just go, oh gosh, I couldn't. It'll be awkward somehow. I don't know, but it's delightful. It's delightful for the people who bear witness to you. You're giving them a gift. You're giving them an uplifting thing to look at and smile about, and then you give them an opportunity to give to you. Now, one of the major revelations I had in this project was that people need to receive as generously as they give. So that means when someone gives you a compliment, you have to receive it with care and grace and openness in a way that isn't particularly natural, especially to women in our culture. So someone says, oh my gosh, I just love that sweater. And what's often the first thing you say? You say, I picked this up out of a free bin at somebody's yard sale.
It's like, oh, I got it at the thrift store, or I got it on clearance.
Right?
You're like, oh, it's so old.
You back away from you back away from the compliment by giving someone its price and provenance. And you're like, and the person is like, that's not what I intended. I intended to just give you this gift, and you're not receiving it. You're kind of deflecting it. So instead, I tell people, when someone offers you this gift, it's like a little bouquet of violets that a 5-year-old picked, in spring, and they hand it to you. This is for you, and that's how you receive it. Oh, thank you, honey. So that's what I learned to do.
But how do you turn that into more than just a compliment? Like, how do you turn that into a conversation? Because otherwise, it kind of does seem like you're just fishing for compliments.
I will say what I was fishing for is connection. So when people would say things like, oh, gosh, that looks wonderful. It's so uplifting to see you. Oh, this made my day. Then it's more than a compliment. They're telling me that something I've done has contributed to something very important for them. I've had conversations with people who say, I wasn't going to leave the house today. You're my sign that I'm going to be okay, that things are going to go all right, that there's a reason to leave the house because I can have this kind of uplifting experience. Like I just kind of forget the world is out there for me. I say, don't discount the value of the pleasant small talk. So this is documented in research that alone is a huge indicator of better health outcomes. That person who shouts across the street says, hey, I love your hat. That's doing something for them. They feel like they're more a part of something because they've interacted with someone in their community in a pleasant way. It might have taken a little bit of courage to do it, or they're just that kind of person who shouts out compliments. But people find out that giving a compliment to a stranger is a safe thing to do. I think a lot of men are scared to give compliments to women. I had a lot of men come up to me and apologize first. And, like, I hope I don't offend you when I say this, but I really want to tell you that I like your outfit. And they're not doing it in a way that's a come on. They're doing it to just because you remind me of my Aunt Sarah that I remember loving so much. And she always dressed that way when she went to church, whatever. It's like, it's okay to notice other human beings and celebrate their specialness. Like, feast your eyes. It's okay. Like, go ahead and look. I'm a human being. We would look at each other. Why don't we look at each other anymore? Why are we looking away from each other? We think that's politeness. We think we're dying of loneliness. Folks, step one is just having these pleasant interactions with strangers to remind yourself that you're part of the community. I was interested to see like the feedback on the TEDx talk, lots of comments where people said, I'm going to try this. And then they went out and they said, this really worked for me. Meaning I felt more connected, not I got a bunch of compliments and now I have this huge ego. That's not what this is about.
You can see Mollie Kaye in all of her 1950s glory on her Instagram. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. And also we'll link to her TEDx talk. Mollie, it's been great. Have a wonderful day.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
And thank you for getting uncomfy with us today. Are you one of these people that likes to have small interactions with strangers when you're out and about in your community? I'd love to hear how you get over the awkwardness of that. How do you receive or give small compliments when you're out in public? Tell me your secrets. I could learn from you. Email uncomfy@byu.edu or find us on social media. We are at uncomfy.podcast on Instagram. Just as Mollie was logging off, she said, you know what? Even just walking a dog is a great way to have these conversations. So if you're a dog person, like you've probably experienced that. People complimenting your dog, want to know the breed of the dog, want to say hello to your dog. So that's, again, if wearing a hat isn't your thing, or if you don't happen to have crazy curls like I do, lots of different ways that we can be open to tiny little interactions that can feed us out in public. So I thought that was a really cool idea. Uncomfy is a BYU radio podcast. Samuel Benson produces it with help from Maggie Mathis, and our theme music was composed by Kelsey Ney. I'm Julie Rose. Can't wait to get uncomfy with you again next week. If you're like me, sometimes you just need a fresh voice in your podcast listening queue to shake things up a bit. And that's why I'm here to recommend The Lisa Show from BYU Radio. It's hosted by Lisa Valentine Clark. She's a widowed mother of 5. She's an actress and comedian, and she knows that real life is messy, but she's here to say you're not alone. Each episode of The Lisa Show explores the everyday struggles we all face, like struggles in parenting, mental health, relationships, social issues, all while also unpacking how to live a happier, healthier life. So catch The Lisa Show from BYU Radio on the BYU Radio app or on any podcast listening app. New episodes drop every Tuesday.